The helicopter landed smoothly on the private helipad of Evergreen Paradise, sending fine white sand swirling across the emerald green shoreline. Jared Reynolds, CEO of the international investment conglomerate Reynolds Holdings, stepped out with the characteristic confidence of a powerful businessman. A designer suit, polished Italian leather shoes, everything about him exuded success. A senior staff member of the resort approached, bowing slightly in greeting. "Welcome, Mr. Reynolds. We have arranged a private villa for you, along with a conference room as per your request." Jared gave a curt nod, his gaze sweeping over the paradise before him. Crystal clear waters, overwater villas, palm trees swaying under the brilliant sun. But to him, this place was nothing more than another battlefield in his career. A multi-million-dollar deal awaited signing, and he had no time to indulge in romantic scenery or lavish vacations. As he stepped into the exclusive VIP area, he signaled to his assistant, "Double-check the schedule. I don't want any mistakes in tomorrow's negotiations." The assistant nodded, but Jared barely paid attention. To him, success was everything, and he was willing to sacrifice anything to achieve it. At the same time, a luxury cruise boat docked at the resort. Nicole Evans stepped off, holding the small hands of her 7-year-old twin sons, Ethan and Lucas. "Look over there!" Nicole smiled, pointing towards the row of floating villas. The boys gasped in excitement, their eyes sparkling. "Wow, it looks like a fairy tale castle, Mom." Nicole chuckled, but deep inside, a lump formed in her throat. She had worked tirelessly for the past 7 years, saving every penny to bring her children here. This wasn't just a vacation, it was a gift, an attempt to make up for what they had never had, a complete family. She squeezed their little hands gently, her gaze drifting over the wealthy couples walking hand in hand, the happy families enjoying their time together. A pang of sadness crept into her heart. 7 years ago, she had dreamed of a family like that too. But the only man she had ever loved, the father of the 2 children standing beside her, had vanished from her life without a single explanation. Jared Reynolds. Nicole took a deep breath, pushing the past aside. This was her time with her children, and she wouldn't let anything or anyone ruin it. She had no idea that fate had already set in motion an inevitable reunion. Hello, Soul Stories family. I hope you're all doing well. May God bless you with love, joy, and peace. I pray your days shine bright, your burdens ease, and your dreams come true. How did our last story touch you? Share your thoughts in the comments. I truly value them. You're more than subscribers, you're family. Your presence means the world to me. Part 1. The Fated Encounter. The second night at Evergreen Paradise was bathed in shimmering lights reflecting on the still ocean. In the distance, soft music from the restaurant blended with the whispers of the breeze through the palm trees. Jared Reynolds walked out of the conference room, his mind tense. The investment deal, which had seemed smooth, suddenly hit a roadblock. The partners demanded an additional clause that he couldn't immediately accept. The negotiations would resume in the morning, but for now, all he wanted was a cold shower and a moment of rest in his villa. His assistant had handed him the key earlier, but due to a system error at the resort, the staff had mistakenly given him the key to another villa, Nicole's villa. Jared walked along the wooden pathway leading to the overwater villas, loosening his tie. His head was still spinning with numbers and contract terms. Without bothering to turn on the lights, he pushed open the door and stepped inside, completely unaware that this was not his room. Inside, the living room was warm and inviting, dimly lit by soft bedside lamps that cast gentle shadows over the elegant interior. A faint scent of vanilla and coconut lingered in the air, a familiar fragrance he couldn't quite place until he saw her. Nicole stood in the living room, dressed in a simple beige silk dress, her long brown hair cascading down her back. She was gently tucking in her twin sons, 2 boys with light golden hair and striking green eyes. Jared froze. All sounds seemed to fade into silence. The children, they looked exactly like him as a child. The deep-set eyes, the small yet lively figures, that mischievous smile. He had seen it before, in his own childhood photos. Nicole stood just as stunned, her heart pounding against her ribs. 7 years. 7 years she had raised these 2 boys alone. And now the man who had walked away from her without a word, the man she had tried so hard to forget, was standing right in front of her, staring at the children. The air in the room grew thick, suffocating. Jared couldn't utter a single word. His entire life, he had always been in control. In high-stakes meetings and billion-dollar negotiations, he had never lost his composure. But now he was facing something he had never anticipated, a truth that could change his entire existence. Nicole clenched her fists, forcing herself to stay composed. She needed to say something, to drive him away, but when she spoke, her voice trembled. "What are you doing here?" Jared took a deep breath, but he still couldn't find an answer. Right now, only one thought was racing through his mind. Are these children mine? That single question sent his world crumbling down. He had left 7 years ago, throwing himself into his career, never looking back. And now he was confronted with a reality that was too overwhelming to bear. He had 2 children he had never known about. Nicole took a step toward him, her eyes blazing with fury. "Get out!" Her voice was low but firm. Jared remained frozen, his gaze locked on the 2 boys. He wanted to step forward to say something, but his throat felt constricted. "Get out! Now!" Nicole repeated, her tone sharper this time, as if any hesitation from him was an insult. Jared blinked, then nodded slowly. But before he left, he stopped at the door, turned back, and his voice, hoarse and filled with emotion, asked, "Why didn't you tell me?" Nicole let out a soft, bitter laugh. "Tell you? For what? So you could walk away again? So you could see them as a burden?" Her gaze was sharp as a blade, piercing through him. "You chose to leave me, Jared. You never came back. So why, after 7 years, do you care now?" Jared had no answer, because she was right. With nothing left to say, he lowered his head and walked out of the villa, leaving behind a silence so heavy it was suffocating. Part 2. Memories resurface. The night enveloped the luxurious resort in a serene embrace, waves gently lapping against the shore, carrying the salty breeze through the glass windows. But no matter how breathtaking the scenery was, 2 people in separate villas across from each other found no solace in sleep. Both Nicole and Jared were haunted by the past, the sweet yet bitter memories, the happiness they once had, and the loss they could never reclaim. New York, 7 years ago. Nicole closed her eyes and the past replayed like a slow-motion film. She remembered the first time she met Jared, charismatic, intelligent, and fiercely ambitious. She had fallen for him completely, believing he was the man she wanted to be with for the rest of her life. They had been happy once, long nights talking on the balcony, a glass of deep red wine in hand, his gaze on her, both tender and burning with intensity. She remembered the way he kissed her under the city lights, the warmth of his embrace on freezing winter nights, the times they cooked together, the dreams they had woven for their future. "Do you want a family someday?" she had asked him one starry evening. Jared had chuckled, pulling her into his arms. "I've never thought about it, but if I ever do, I'd only want it with you." That answer had melted her heart. She had believed him, but then he left. Jared walked away without a clear explanation. "I have to go away for work." That was the last thing he said before disappearing from her life. She had waited. She called, texted, only to be met with absolute silence. At first, she reassured herself. Maybe he was busy. Maybe he needed time. But then 1 month, 2 months, 6 months passed. Jared had vanished. No calls, no letters, no goodbye. Nicole had drowned in sorrow, her nights filled with tears. She buried herself in work, hoping to erase his presence from her heart. But nothing could fill the void he left behind. And then she found out she was pregnant. The pregnancy test revealed 2 bold pink lines, an undeniable truth. Nicole was shaken. She had been waiting for Jared to return, but now everything had changed. She called him, but his number was disconnected. She sent emails, no response. She went to her prenatal appointments alone, and when the doctor asked about the father, she bit her lip, unable to answer. She had prayed that one day he would walk through the door, that he would hold her and tell her this was all a misunderstanding. But he never came back. She had to be strong. not for herself, but for the two little lives growing inside her. Nicole endured morning sickness, exhaustion, and swollen feet all on her own. She worked late into the nights, saving every penny to prepare for her children. And then, the day of labor arrived. She was alone in the hospital, clutching the bed sheets as waves of pain crashed over her. No one held her hand. No one whispered, "You'll be okay." It was just her and her babies. When the doctor placed the newborns in her arms, tears silently fell from her eyes. "Welcome to the world, my loves. I will never leave you." Nicole had done everything for her boys. She stayed up endless nights rocking them to sleep, worked 2 jobs to pay rent, sacrificed her personal life to ensure they never felt the absence of a father. And now Jared was back, as if those 7 years had never happened. Meanwhile, Jared once had everything: a skyrocketing career, multi-million-dollar deals, a clear path to power. But to have it all, he had sacrificed something irreplaceable. Nicole, 7 years ago, the choice that changed everything. When Jared was assigned to a major overseas project, he knew he couldn't ask her to wait for him. "I'll only be gone for a few months, and then I'll come back." That's what he had told himself. He had convinced himself that once he secured his future, he could return to her, love her as fiercely as before. But months turned into years. Business swallowed him whole. One deal after another, one meeting after another. He thought she would wait, and when he finally realized he needed her, it was too late. He was afraid to go back, afraid to face her, afraid to see that she had moved on, that she had found someone better. But now the truth hit him like a crushing blow. The twin boys were his. While he had been drowning in contracts and corporate power, Nicole had been fighting alone to raise their children. A sharp pain twisted in his chest. Have I lost her forever? He could never forgive himself, but no matter how much Nicole hated him, he would not abandon his children. He would fight for them. He would not make the same mistake twice. 2 people, 2 villas across from each other, both lost in sleepless nights, tormented by the past, by unhealed wounds, by questions with no answers. But one thing was certain: they couldn't run from each other any longer. Part 3, the rumors erupt. The sun peeked over the horizon, casting a golden glow upon the crystal-clear waters of evergreen paradise. The morning was serene, the soft hum of waves blending with the rustling of palm trees. But that peace was short-lived. While Nicole was busy preparing breakfast for her 2 boys in their villa, outside, whispers of her connection with Jared Reynolds were already spreading like wildfire. Evergreen Paradise was not just a luxury retreat for the elite. It was a magnet for paparazzi and socialites. In a place where every guest was a millionaire, billionaire, or an influential figure, even the smallest actions became headline news. The morning gossip begins. At the resort's VIP breakfast buffet, something felt off. Guests, high-profile investors, business moguls, and celebrities were no longer just enjoying their meals. Instead, they were whispering, exchanging glances toward a particular table. At a lavish corner by the window, a group of elegantly dressed women were murmuring. "Who is that woman?" one of them asked, discreetly glancing toward Nicole, who was sitting with 2 young boys. "I heard she used to be involved with Jared Reynolds." "Wait, are those his kids?" another gasped, eyes widening in shock. "Oh my God, look at their eyes. They're identical to his." Meanwhile, across the restaurant, a group of wealthy businessmen was having a similar conversation. "I saw a post this morning on a financial forum. Someone captured a photo of Jared standing outside a woman's villa. So the rumors are true? Jared has a secret family? If this gets out, it could impact his company's investments." The murmurs grew, weaving into a web of speculation. No one knew the full truth, but in high society, no one ever needed proof, only a scandalous story. The internet explodes. 9 a.m., a mysterious post appears. On a popular online forum that followed CEOs and celebrities, a photo of Jared standing outside Nicole's villa surfaced. The image, though taken from a distance, was clear enough to capture Jared's tense expression and the faint outline of Nicole inside the villa. Billionaire CEO Jared Reynolds and his secret family? Who is the woman with him? The comment section erupted. Wait, Jared has kids? No way. Those boys look exactly like him. This explains why he never talks about his personal life. If they're really his children, why did he keep them hidden? This feels like something straight out of a drama series. Paparazzi appear. With rumors spiraling out of control, it didn't take long for paparazzi to sniff out a potential scandal. One undercover reporter managed to snap another picture. Nicole and the twins walking along the beach. The boys laughed and ran across the sand, carefree, completely unaware that they were now the center of a media storm. The photo spread rapidly, accompanied by a sensational headline. The mysterious woman linked to Jared Reynolds finally revealed. Soon after, photographers began arriving at the resort, lurking around the villas, attempting to get closer to Nicole and the boys. Nicole panics. She decides to leave. 10:30 a.m. inside Nicole's villa. Nicole sat on the lounge chair, watching her boys play in the sand. She had no idea that a storm was already brewing outside. But minutes later, as she stepped inside to grab a drink, her phone started vibrating, non-stop. A text from a friend. Nicole, what's happening? Have you seen the news? Another message from a former colleague. I just saw your picture online. They're saying you're the mother of Jared's kids. Is it true? Nicole's hands trembled as she scrolled through the blaring headlines. She froze. She had spent years protecting her children from the public eye, and now in a matter of hours, the entire world was speculating about their lives. Her chest tightened. She had to get out, immediately. Packing to escape. Nicole hurriedly pulled out suitcases, shoving clothes inside as quickly as possible. She couldn't let this continue. She had fought too hard to build a stable life for her sons. She would not let them be dragged into a media circus. Boys, we're going home early. The twins turned toward her, confused. But Mommy, we haven't seen the dolphins yet, Ethan pouted. Nicole clenched her jaw, heart aching. She wanted to give them this vacation. But right now, protecting them was more important than anything else. She took a deep breath. She had no choice. She was leaving Evergreen Paradise. For good. Part 4. Jared tries to make amends. Nicole hurriedly dragged her suitcase out of the villa, her heart racing. The weight of whispers and judgmental stares felt suffocating. She needed to leave, immediately. She had to get her children away from here. Away from Jared and the chaos he brought back into her life. Her twin boys, Ethan and Lucas, walked beside her, confused but obedient. Then Lucas slowed down, pressing a hand against his forehead, his small face scrunched up in discomfort. Mommy, my head feels dizzy. Nicole's steps faltered. She immediately knelt before him, pressing her hand against his forehead. He was burning up. Lucas, baby, are you okay? The little boy swayed unsteadily, his eyes unfocused. Then he collapsed onto the sand. Nicole's scream tore through the air. Lucas, baby, wake up, please! His tiny body trembled, his lips pale, his breathing shallow. Panic surged through Nicole like a crashing wave. A tall figure suddenly rushed forward. What's going on? Jared. Nicole whipped her head up, her eyes filled with terror. I don't know, he just fainted. I need to get him to the medical center. Now! Without hesitation, Jared scooped Lucas up in his arms, his heart pounding against his ribcage. And then he ran. He ran faster than he ever had in his life. For the first time, he knew what it felt like to fear losing someone important. His lungs burned, his legs ached, but he didn't stop, because in his arms was a little boy who might be his son. A little boy he couldn't bear to lose. At the medical center, Jared refuses to leave. Nicole sat by the hospital bed, clutching Lucas's small hand, her fingers trembling. A doctor, clad in a white coat, checked the boy's vitals, frowning. He has a high fever and exhaustion. I believe he suffered from heat stroke combined with stress. Nicole's stomach twisted with guilt. She had been so focused on leaving that she hadn't realized Lucas wasn't feeling well. Beside her, Jared stood motionless. His hands clenched so tightly his knuckles turned white. He felt completely powerless. Every minute felt like a lifetime as Jared watched Lucas's frail body tremble with fever. And for the first time, he truly felt the weight of what he had lost. He had missed everything. Lucas' first steps, Lucas's first words, Lucas' first scraped knee. He had missed 7 years. The realization hit him like a knife to the gut. Nicole stole a glance at Jared. He hadn't left. Not once. He had skipped his high-profile meetings, his million-dollar deals, all of it, just to stay here, watching over Lucas. She saw his hand tremble as he gently brushed the boy's damp forehead, his eyes dark with worry. For 7 years she had hated him. But this Jared, the man beside her now, was not the cold CEO she remembered. This was a father, a man who was terrified of losing his son. Jared tucked the blanket around Lucas's small frame and murmured, "You're going to be okay, little guy." And Nicole's heart ached. She turned away, wiping the tears that had begun to fall. For 7 years she had done this alone. She had endured pregnancy without support. She had rocked her babies to sleep through countless sleepless nights. She had answered their innocent questions about their missing father, not knowing what to say. And yet, for the first time, a part of her wanted to believe Jared had changed, that maybe, just maybe, she didn't have to do this alone anymore. 6 a.m., sunrise casts a golden glow into the room. Lucas's eyelashes fluttered. His small chest rose and fell steadily. Then his eyes opened. "Mommy?" Nicole let out a choked sob, relief washing over her. "I'm here, baby." Lucas blinked sleepily, then turned his gaze to the tall stranger sitting beside him. Jared. Lucas stared at him, his small face curious but cautious. Jared let out a soft, hoarse chuckle, exhaustion evident in his features. "Good morning, buddy." Lucas tilted his head, then turned back to Nicole. "Mommy, who is he?" The question struck like a dagger. Nicole's breath caught in her throat. Jared sat frozen, his expression unreadable. For a moment, no one spoke, because neither of them knew what to say. But one thing was certain. Jared wasn't leaving this time. He wouldn't run. Not again. Part 5. The Public Confession. As the sun rose over the crystal-clear waters of Evergreen Paradise, the rumors about Jared Reynolds' secret family reached a boiling point. The media had caught on to the story. Several articles had exploded across news sites, their headlines bold and scandalous. Billionaire CEO and the mystery of his twin boys. Is Jared Reynolds hiding his own children? Could this scandal topple his empire? Someone had leaked a photo of Jared in the medical center, sitting beside Lucas all night, his face filled with concern. Alongside it were images of the two boys, their resemblance to him undeniable. At the luxury resort, the whispers had grown louder. Guests, staff, and even business executives gossiped about the news. But this wasn't just a harmless rumor. The investors in Jared's company were starting to panic. "Jared, are you hiding a secret family? We need a public statement ASAP to protect the company's reputation." This could affect the resort expansion deal. Jared's inbox was flooded with urgent messages from board members and stakeholders. He felt the walls closing in. But this time, his first priority wasn't his career. He refused to let Nicole and the boys be dragged into a media circus. It was time to take control. That afternoon, Jared personally contacted the press. A formal press conference was scheduled at the resort. This wasn't part of his original plans, but this wasn't just about his image anymore. This was about the people who mattered most. As the sun dipped below the horizon, the Grand Hall of Evergreen Paradise was packed with reporters. Cameras flashed. Microphones pointed forward. Live news channels broadcasted worldwide. The media frenzy had reached its peak. Jared stepped onto the stage, calm but resolute. Hundreds of eyes were locked on him. And then he spoke. "I know you all have a lot of questions." His voice was strong, his gaze unwavering. "I am not a man who shares my personal life, but today I will speak, because I will not allow these children or their mother to be hurt by baseless speculation." The room fell silent. He inhaled deeply, then dropped the truth like a bomb. "There is a very strong possibility that the twin boys are my children." The hall erupted into a flurry of whispers, camera flashes blinding. But Jared raised a hand, demanding silence. "For 7 years I didn't know, but now that I do, I won't run from it." His voice carried a rare vulnerability. Regardless of the DNA test results, I will take responsibility. If they are my children, I will do everything in my power to be a father to them. And if they aren't, a bitter smile ghosted his lips. I will still protect them as if they were my own. The press froze. No one had expected this level of honesty from him. Jared Reynolds, a man known for his ruthless ambition, was standing here, admitting his mistakes, declaring his commitment to two children he hadn't even confirmed were his. In a hidden corner of the resort, Nicole stood watching it all unfold on a screen. She couldn't move, couldn't speak. Jared had just exposed his personal life to the world, and he had done it for her, for their children. After the press conference, Jared went to find her. He wasn't the same man she had known years ago. There was no arrogance, no cold exterior. Instead, his eyes were filled with regret and determination. I know you can't forgive me overnight. His voice was quiet but firm. But please, don't push me out of their lives. Nicole stood frozen. She had spent 7 years resenting him, 7 years raising their children alone. She wanted to shut him out to protect her heart, but something about Jared's expression, his voice, the way he looked at her and their boys, it felt real. For the first time, she saw a man truly trying to make amends. She didn't say yes, but she also didn't say no. And this time, she wasn't so sure she wanted to leave anymore. Part 6, A New Beginning. Jared Reynolds, once a man who only lived for work, now spent his days learning how to be a father. A man who was once used to million-dollar meetings and high-stakes deals was now sitting on the beach, hands covered in sand, helping Lucas and Liam build a sandcastle. Nicole watched from a distance, barely believing her eyes. She had spent 7 years picturing Jared as an absentee father, someone who would never embrace fatherhood. But now, Jared was laughing as he pretended to be a sea monster, chasing the boys across the shore. He didn't care about getting wet, dirty, or losing his polished CEO image. That man, the cold, ambitious businessman who had walked away from her years ago, was nowhere to be found. One afternoon, Lucas and Liam begged to go swimming in the resort's grand infinity pool. Nicole was about to decline, still hesitant about letting Jared get too involved. But then he gently took her hand. Let me do this. His voice was steady, filled with determination. For a moment, Nicole hesitated. Then she nodded. Jared got into the water first, his arms open as the boys jumped in, their laughter echoing through the pool. He held Lucas carefully as the boy practiced kicking his legs. He patiently guided Liam, teaching him how to breathe underwater without panicking. It was a simple moment, yet it meant everything. For the first time in his life, Jared felt happiness not from success, but from the little things, like his son's laughter when he made a silly face underwater. Nicole could see it. Jared had changed, and her heart wasn't sure how to handle that. That night, as Nicole tucked the boys into bed, she reached for a storybook like she always did. But then Lucas spoke up. Mom, can Uncle Jared read it tonight? Nicole froze. She looked at her son's eager faces, and then at Jared. Finally, she gave a small nod and stepped aside. Jared sat between the twins, holding the book awkwardly. But instead of reading in a monotone, he acted out each character, making exaggerated voices that had the boys laughing uncontrollably. By the time he finished, Lucas looked up at him and whispered, Will you stay forever? Jared stiffened. He turned to Nicole as if searching for permission. She looked away. She still wasn't ready to answer that question. But there was one thing she couldn't deny. Jared was not the same man who had left her 7 years ago. The annual Evergreen Paradise Gala was the highlight of the resort's social calendar. Nicole had no intention of attending, but the boys were too excited to miss it. She wore a simple yet elegant navy blue silk dress. The twins dressed in matching mini tuxedos, looking absolutely adorable. When they arrived, Jared was already waiting. He was in a sharp black tux, but his gaze was only on them. You look beautiful, he murmured as she approached. Nicole avoided his gaze, but her heart skipped a beat. The gala was held on the beach, under a sky full of stars. As the music softened, Jared stepped forward and offered his hand. May I have this dance? Nicole hesitated, but then 2 small pairs of eyes looked up at her, hopeful. Slowly, she placed her hand in his. They moved in sync, just like they always had, before the pain, before the heartbreak. For a brief moment, it felt like time had rewound, like they were just Jared and Nicole again, two people in love. Jared suddenly stopped. He didn't pull out a ring. He didn't make a grand dramatic speech. Instead, he knelt down, not just in front of Nicole, but in front of Lucas and Liam as well. And with more sincerity than she had ever seen in his eyes, he said, "It took me 7 years to realize what truly matters. I don't expect instant forgiveness, but I'm asking for a chance." Nicole stood frozen. Lucas and Liam gripped her hands, waiting. She felt something inside her break, not in pain, but in release. Tears slipped down her cheeks, but they weren't tears of sorrow. They were tears of healing. She took a deep breath, and then she nodded. "We can try." There were no grand applause, no dramatic cheers, just the soft waves, the glowing stars, and the quiet sound of hearts mending. Jared squeezed her hand. Lucas and Liam rushed forward, throwing their arms around her. Then, after a small hesitation, around Jared. For the first time ever, they whispered a single word, a word Jared never thought he would hear. "Dad." That night, Evergreen Paradise witnessed a different kind of miracle. Not a business deal, not $1 billion investment, but the moment a family found their way back to each other. Are you still following the story? What do you think of Nicole's decision? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Part 7. The Journey to Prove Love. The vacation at Evergreen Paradise had come to an end. Jared, Nicole, and the two boys left the resort together. No more lavish dinners by the beach, no more nights dancing under the stars. Reality was waiting for them. All four of them boarded a commercial flight. Nicole had never imagined flying with Jared, but she knew he wouldn't let the children leave without getting answers. Jared watched as the two boys eagerly sat by the plane window, their little fingers touching the glass, gazing at the endless blue sky. A smile unconsciously appeared on his lips, a sense of belonging he had never felt before. Nicole saw it. She no longer sensed any pretense in him, only a father trying to make up for the lost years with his children. Nicole lived in a quiet, peaceful seaside town in California. It was nowhere near as extravagant as the big cities Jared was accustomed to, but it was home to her and the boys. A few days after returning, Jared showed up at her doorstep. He didn't bring flowers or expensive gifts. He only carried a paper bag with pastries Lucas and Liam loved. Nicole opened the door, eyes widening in surprise. "Jared?" He gave her a small smile, completely unbothered. "Let me in. Can I be a guest for a while?" Jared didn't rush to claim a place in the children's lives. He slowly stepped in, adapting to Nicole and the boys' daily routine. He drove them to school. He helped them with their homework. He learned to make a simple breakfast, even though his first attempt at cooking eggs ended up burnt. On the first weekend, Lucas and Liam begged Nicole to take them to an amusement park. She was hesitant, but Jared spoke up first. "Let's go. I'll drive." Nicole blinked at him. Did he just say we? For the first time in 7 years, they went out together, like a real family. The boys giggled when Jared failed to win them a stuffed bear in a carnival game. For the first time, Nicole saw him not as a polished, successful businessman, but simply as a man trying to be a father. Jared learned to have dinner at a family table, not at a luxurious restaurant. He was used to expensive meals in boardrooms, dinners spent discussing contracts. But here, at the small wooden table in Nicole's kitchen, everything felt warmer than ever. Lucas and Liam shared their school stories. Lucas proudly talked about a painting he made in art class. Liam excitedly recounted his soccer game. Jared sat there listening, as if this was what he had been waiting for his entire life. One night, Liam had a fever. The boy whimpered, his forehead burning hot. Nicole panicked instantly, but Jared acted fast. He picked Liam up, whispering reassurances. He brought a cold towel, gently comforting him, patiently helping him take his medicine. Nicole stood there watching, something shifting inside her. In the past, raising the boys alone, every time they got sick, she would spend the whole night awake, worried sick. For the first time, there was someone beside her, sharing that fear. She said nothing, but in her heart, something had changed. One night when the boys were fast asleep, Nicole stood on the porch, quietly watching the sea. Jared walked up, standing beside her. "Did you ever think I'd come back?" he asked. Nicole took a deep breath. "Yes." "Then why did you push me away when I did?" "Because I was scared." "Scared of what?" She turned to look at him, her deep eyes filled with past wounds. "Scared you'd leave us again." Jared closed his eyes as if her words had struck him like a heavy blow. He had missed too much. He had hurt the woman he loved too deeply. But this time, he wasn't leaving. He gently took her hand. "I won't leave again, Nicole. This time I'm staying." She stared at him. Under the moonlight, she saw the sincerity in his eyes. But could she trust him again? Part 8. The Final Test. Nicole couldn't deny that Jared had changed. He cared about the two boys. He was no longer the cold man who only cared about money. But she was still afraid. 7 years ago, he had left her. Who could guarantee that 7 years later, he wouldn't do the same? One day, Jared took Nicole to a small cafe near her house. He slid an envelope across the table toward her. "What is this?" She frowned. He didn't say anything, just watched her silently. Nicole opened the envelope and saw an official document from Jared's company, a resignation letter. She looked up, stunned. "Jared, this is—" "I left my company." Nicole couldn't believe her ears. "Are you crazy? That's your entire career." Jared nodded, his gaze unwavering. "And you and the kids are my family. A career can be rebuilt, but if I lose you and the kids again, I could never forgive myself." Nicole was speechless. He had truly given up everything for her and their children. After that day, Jared stayed by her side. He took the boys to school every morning. He helped them learn how to ride a bike without training wheels. He learned to cook, though his sunny-side-up eggs still weren't perfect. One afternoon, Lucas and Liam came running into the living room, holding a drawing in their hands. Nicole sat on the sofa, curious. "Mom, we made this." It was a picture of a family. Nicole, Lucas, Liam, and Jared. In the drawing, Jared was holding the boys' hands, standing beside Nicole. Nicole froze. The boys already saw Jared as part of the family. But what about her? Liam looked up at his mother, his big eyes full of innocence. "Mom, do you love Dad?" Nicole was stunned. Jared stood there saying nothing, waiting for her answer. One evening, Jared took Nicole to the beach near her home. Under the moonlight, he turned to look at her. "I've made a lot of mistakes in my life. But this time, I want to make it right." He knelt down and pulled out a sparkling ring. Nicole gasped. "Nicole Evans, will you give me the chance to love you again?" She bit her lip, tears glistening in her eyes. She had waited for these words for 7 years. From a distance, Lucas and Liam stood watching, their eyes wide with anticipation. Nicole laughed through her tears. "You idiot." She nodded. "I accept." Jared grinned, stood up, and pulled her into his arms. Lucas and Liam cheered, running up to hug their parents. They had a small, intimate wedding on the beach. Lucas and Liam were the little best men, holding the wedding rings. When Jared placed the ring on Nicole's finger, he looked at her with nothing but love. "This time, I will never leave you again." Nicole smiled, squeezing his hand. "And I won't either." 7 years of separation, and they had finally found each other again. No more regrets, no more misunderstandings. Only love, and this time, that love had no expiration date. True love is not just about fleeting happiness, it's about patience, responsibility, and the willingness to correct mistakes. Jared learned to prioritize his family over his career, and Nicole learned to let go of the past and embrace new happiness. Children need both parents, and genuine love can always heal past wounds. Most importantly, love is not something that can be bought with money or fame. It's the daily effort to be worthy of the one you love. Thank you for following our story. Did this story touch your heart? Leave a comment below. If you enjoyed the story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. The soft golden sunlight of the afternoon streamed through the enormous glass windows of Harrington Tower, the magnificent skyscraper situated in the heart of Los Angeles. From the office on the top floor, Ryan Harrington stood silently, his eyes gazing far off toward the horizon. He was the only son of Charles and Evelyn Harrington, the sole heir to Harrington Technologies, a renowned tech empire built on his father's relentless ambition and discipline. Yet to Ryan, the brilliance of this legacy felt more like a burden. Inside the office, the atmosphere was heavy. Charles sat commandingly behind a walnut desk, his sharp eyes fixed on Ryan. Evelyn stood nearby, her hand resting lightly on her husband's shoulder, as though to ease the tension. But the faint smile on her lips only amplified the pressure of the conversation. "Ryan," Charles began in a low, authoritative tone, "it's time for you to do what's necessary for the family. This isn't a choice, it's your responsibility." Ryan frowned, struggling to suppress the wave of disgust rising within him. "What are you talking about?" Evelyn, always composed, stepped closer to Ryan. "We've arranged for you to meet Charlotte Beaumont. She's the daughter of the Beaumont family, former nobility, though they've fallen on hard times. A marriage between you and her would bring tremendous benefits to both families." Ryan let out a bitter laugh. "You said arranged? I haven't even met her, and you've already planned out my life?" He turned to Charles, anger flashing in his eyes. "You want me to marry a complete stranger just to strengthen your business network? This is absurd." Charles slammed his hand on the desk, the impact echoing through the room. "Stop acting like a child, Ryan. This is how the world works. Marriage is a tool, not some foolish emotional indulgence. Charlotte isn't just the daughter of the Beaumont family. She's the key to securing a partnership with them, one that will expand our market into Europe." Ryan took a deep breath, trying to maintain his composure. He turned away, looking out the window. The city below buzzed with life, the people like tiny ants. To his father, Ryan felt no different, just another pawn in his elaborate game of power. "I don't care about expanding the market or fortifying your position," Ryan replied, his voice dropping. "I want to make my own decisions about my life." Evelyn stepped forward, placing a gentle hand on Ryan's arm. "Ryan, I understand how you feel, but you have to realize this isn't just about the family, it's about your future. A marriage with Charlotte will bring stability, and she's an exceptional woman, beautiful, intelligent, and mature." "Mature?" Ryan spun around, his tone dripping with sarcasm. "She's 10 years older than me? You think I should spend my life with someone I've never met, just because it benefits the company?" Charles rose abruptly, his voice cold. "If you refuse, you'll walk away from this family on your own. No company, no inheritance, no support. Are you ready to give up everything just because of your childish rebellion?" His father's words struck like a knife. Ryan turned to face him, his eyes blazing. "Then consider me no longer part of this family. If all you care about is money and power, then I want no part of it." The room fell into an uneasy silence. Evelyn attempted to mediate, but Ryan raised his hand to stop her. "Enough! I don't want to hear another word." That evening, Ryan packed his belongings in his luxurious apartment. He knew leaving everything behind wouldn't be easy, but the feeling of being forced into a life he didn't want had become unbearable. The family photos on the shelf stirred a flicker of regret, but Ryan knew that to find peace and live on his own terms, he needed to distance himself from the Harringtons' world. The black car glided along the empty roads, away from the dazzling city lights. Ryan didn't know where he was going, but he knew he needed time to think and to rediscover himself. As the car moved toward the serene outskirts, a faint sense of freedom began to creep in, though it was tinged with uncertainty. Before Los Angeles disappeared from view, Ryan pulled over by the roadside, taking one last look at the city where he had grown up. He murmured softly, as if speaking to himself, "I don't know what the future holds, but at least I'll decide it for myself." With that, Ryan stepped on the gas, heading toward an unknown horizon where he hoped to find the answers he had been seeking for so long. Hello, Soul Stories family. I hope you're all doing well. May God bless you with love, joy, and peace. I pray your days shine bright, your burdens ease, and your dreams come true. How did our last story touch you? Share your thoughts in the comments. I truly value them. You're more than subscribers, you're family. Your presence means the world to me. Let's continue this journey together. Ryan's car gently vibrated as he drove along a dirt road leading to a small town nestled in Napa Valley. Surrounding him were lush green vineyards stretching endlessly to the horizon. The air here carried the earthy scent of soil, plants, and a tranquility he had never experienced in the hurried pace of city life. He had decided to settle temporarily in a quaint little town called San Helena, known for its sprawling vineyards and wineries. After an afternoon of searching, he found a small house tucked under the shade of an ancient oak tree. The house was simple but cozy, with a red-tiled roof and a small front porch. It wasn't the luxurious life he was accustomed to, but it gave him a sense of relief and freedom. On his first morning in town, Ryan woke to the sound of birds chirping instead of the incessant noise of traffic. He brewed himself a cup of coffee, sat on the porch, and admired the mist-covered vineyards in the soft morning light. He didn't know how long he would stay, but this newfound peace was exactly what he needed for now. A week after arriving in town, Ryan was driving along a narrow road passing by a vineyard when he noticed an old truck parked on the roadside. A middle-aged man was crouched under the hood, his face marked with frustration. Ryan stopped, stepped out of his car, and asked, "Need some help?" The man, Mr. Bill, looked up, his face lined with worry. "This old truck is always acting up. I was on my way to deliver a crate of grapes to Golden Vine Vineyard, but now it's dead." Glancing at the engine, Ryan quickly identified the problem. Rolling up his sleeves, he got to work. In less than 20 minutes, the truck roared back to life. Mr. Bill beamed with gratitude. "Thank you, young man. If it weren't for you, I wouldn't have made it. Are you new in town?" Ryan nodded. "Yes, I just moved here. I'm looking for a peaceful place to live." Mr. Bill chuckled heartily. "Well, you've come to the right place. If you're not too busy, why don't you stop by Golden Vine Vineyard? The young lady who runs it would be grateful you saved me. And her grapes." Ryan agreed. When he arrived at Golden Vine, he was greeted by a picturesque scene. Rows upon rows of neatly arranged grapevines, a farmhouse with a red-tiled roof, and a small winemaking facility nearby. Standing in the middle of the courtyard was a young woman with long brown hair tied loosely back, dressed in jeans and a plaid shirt. She exuded both strength and grace. "Emily," Mr. Bill called out. "This young man here helped me fix the truck. If it weren't for him, I wouldn't have made it back with the grapes." Emily Carter turned, a warm smile spreading across her face as she approached Ryan. "Thank you. I'm Emily, the owner of this vineyard." Ryan returned her smile. "I'm Ryan. Nice to meet you." While Mr. Bill and Emily inspected the crate of grapes, Ryan took in the surroundings. The vineyard, though modest, radiated a rustic charm and vitality. He couldn't help but be impressed by Emily. Her aura of resilience and capability was unlike anything he had encountered among the socialites in his former life. "You're not from around here, are you?" Emily asked, turning back to Ryan. "That's right. I just moved here a few days ago. I needed a break from the city," Ryan replied, careful to keep his true identity hidden. Emily nodded thoughtfully. "Well, if you're not too busy, I have an old grape press that needs fixing. Maybe you could take a look?" Ryan agreed without hesitation. He followed Emily to the production area, where a dusty, outdated grape press sat unused. After examining it, he identified the issue and quickly got to work. When the machine finally sputtered to life, Emily's face lit up with joy. "Thank you, Ryan. This press has been out of commission for weeks, and I didn't know how to fix it." Ryan smiled. "No problem. If you ever need more help, just let me know." Emily looked at him, her eyes shining with gratitude. "If you don't mind, how about staying for dinner? It's the least I can do to thank you." From that day forward, Ryan became a familiar presence at Golden Vine Vineyard. Initially, he only helped with minor repairs, but soon he found himself involved in other tasks, picking grapes, watering the fields, and even learning the basics of winemaking. Emily and her 17-year-old younger brother, Jack, a bright and energetic teenager, quickly grew accustomed to Ryan's presence. Jack, in particular, admired Ryan and eagerly followed him around, absorbing everything he could. Each morning, Ryan and Emily worked side by side under the sun. They picked plump clusters of grapes, their conversations flowing effortlessly, ranging from hobbies to unfulfilled dreams. Ryan shared his love for technology, but kept his true background hidden. Meanwhile, Emily spoke of her aspirations to turn Golden Vine into a renowned wine brand. though managing the vineyard alone often left her exhausted. "You're incredibly strong," Ryan said one day as they rested in the shade of a tree. "I've never met anyone as determined as you." Emily smiled, though there was a hint of sadness behind it. "After my parents passed away, I didn't have much choice. I had to step up to take care of Jack and keep this vineyard running. It's all they left us." Looking at her, Ryan felt an unfamiliar yet profound admiration rising within him. He had never met anyone with Emily's blend of determination and compassion. The days at Golden Vine not only taught Ryan new skills, but also changed his perspective on life. He realized that happiness didn't lie in wealth or power, but in simple moments like working under the sun, sharing warm family dinners, or conversing with someone who truly understood him. Gradually, the bond between Ryan and Emily deepened. It wasn't a love that blossomed overnight, but a connection built through shared experiences and trust over time. Emily saw in Ryan a sincerity and kindness that she hadn't expected from a stranger. As for Ryan, he found in Emily something he never knew he needed: warmth and a sense of belonging. One evening, as the golden sunset bathed the vineyard in a soft glow, Ryan and Emily sat on the porch overlooking the fields. Emily turned to him and gently said, "I don't know why you came here, but I'm glad you did." Ryan smiled softly, his gaze tender. "I think I'm glad too. Maybe this is where I was meant to find." With those words, Ryan began to realize that he had found not just a refuge, but perhaps a place where he could start anew. Ryan had decided to keep the truth hidden, that he was a millionaire and the heir to the Harrington Technologies empire. For him, Napa Valley was a place to rediscover himself, not to carry the weight of his family name and expectations. He introduced himself to the townsfolk, especially Emily and Jack, as an unemployed engineer seeking a peaceful life away from the chaos of the city. Emily accepted Ryan's story without question. She saw in him a difference, a quiet, thoughtful man who didn't put up walls of arrogance or pretense. For Ryan, living an ordinary life felt liberating, allowing him to blend into the simplicity of life at Golden Vine. However, maintaining his hidden identity wasn't always easy. There were moments when Ryan's extensive knowledge of business and management, learned from years in his family's company, almost betrayed him. He quickly masked his slip-ups, trying to conceal his accidental intelligence from Emily and the locals. Emily, though outwardly strong, also carried secrets she didn't want anyone to know. The Golden Vine Vineyard, which had been in her family for generations, was on the brink of bankruptcy. The massive debts left behind after her father's unexpected passing weighed heavily on her shoulders. She had given up her dream of becoming an artist, a passion she had cherished since childhood. Instead, she threw herself into managing the vineyard, working tirelessly to improve its yield and quality to maintain the reputation of Golden Vine. But the debts loomed large, and with each passing day, Emily felt the mounting pressure. Emily kept the dire state of the vineyard to herself, partly out of pride and partly out of fear. She worried that if she revealed the truth, she would lose the respect of Ryan, the man she had begun to trust and care for. One late summer afternoon, dark clouds rolled over the Napa Valley sky. By nightfall, a sudden storm struck, bringing heavy winds and torrential rain that devastated a significant portion of the Golden Vine Vineyard. Grape trellises were uprooted, stakes broke, and rainwater flooded the pathways. The next morning, as Ryan awoke, he heard the frantic voices of Emily and Jack cleaning up the damage. He quickly ran outside and was met with a heartbreaking sight: rows of destroyed vines and broken structures. Emily stood in the middle of the chaos, her face stoic, but her eyes glistening with unshed tears. "We'll manage this, Jack," she said to her brother, her voice firm but trembling. "As long as we work hard, Golden Vine won't fall." Ryan could feel Emily's pain and determination. He resolved to help her by any means necessary, even if it meant using his own funds. Knowing that Emily would never accept direct help, he secretly contacted a major agricultural supplier and ordered the materials needed to restore the vineyard, including new trellises, fertilizers, and tools. He instructed the supplier not to disclose his identity, framing it as a gift from a mystery benefactor. When the supplies arrived, Emily was taken aback. "Who sent these?" she asked, looking at Ryan with suspicion. Maybe someone who wants to help, Ryan replied, trying to remain calm. Emily was unconvinced by his vague answer, but decided to focus on the urgent task of repairing the vineyard. With Ryan's help, Jack's enthusiasm, and the assistance of neighbors, they began restoring the vineyard. A few days later, Emily came across an invoice from the supplier. To her shock, Ryan's name was clearly listed as the purchaser. Her heart sank. That evening, while Ryan was helping Jack repair an irrigation system, Emily approached him, holding the invoice in her hand. "Why did you do this?" she asked, her voice a mixture of hurt and anger. Ryan turned, immediately recognizing the document in her hand. "Emily, I just wanted to help." "Help me," she interrupted, her voice breaking as tears welled up in her eyes. "Do you think I can't handle this on my own? I know how hard you've been working, and I know you're capable," Ryan said, his tone earnest. "But I also know that no one can do everything alone. I just wanted to support you in the best way I could." Emily shook her head, stepping back. "You said you came here to find peace, but it's clear you're hiding something. How can I trust you when I don't even know who you really are?" Ryan fell silent. He wanted to tell Emily the truth, but he feared that revealing his identity would only deepen her disappointment. Without another word, Emily turned and walked away, leaving Ryan standing in the quiet vineyard, consumed by guilt and regret. In the days that followed, Emily kept her distance from Ryan. She immersed herself in work, avoiding unnecessary conversations. Jack noticed the tension, but refrained from asking questions. Ryan, on the other hand, was torn between revealing his true identity and keeping his promise to himself to live a simple life. For the first time in his life, he found himself caring more about someone else's feelings than his own. One afternoon, Ryan stood on a hill overlooking the Golden Vine vineyard. In the golden glow of the sunset, he saw Emily inspecting the newly repaired vines. She looked exhausted but resilient, just as she had on the day they first met. Ryan knew he couldn't keep his secret forever. He needed to find a way to make Emily understand that everything he had done came from a place of genuine care and a desire to protect her, not out of pity. Days at Golden Vine brought Ryan and Emily closer as they worked side by side in the vineyard. For Ryan, life here was a stark contrast to the luxurious and high-pressure world he had left behind. Each morning they tended to the vineyard together, harvesting ripe grapes under the sun. Ryan learned to identify different grape varieties and came to appreciate the patience and effort required to maintain a vineyard. In the evenings, they shared simple meals on the porch, basking in the quiet serenity of the countryside. Emily opened up about her struggles after her family's financial collapse. Her father, once a powerful millionaire in the finance industry, had lost everything due to failed investments and scandals. "Golden Vine is the only thing my father didn't lose," Emily said, her voice tinged with emotion. "I promised myself I wouldn't let this vineyard fall into someone else's hands. It's the only place that holds the memories of my family." Ryan admired Emily's strength. Despite the weight of her past, she carried herself with hope and determination. His feelings for her grew stronger each day. One day, while Ryan was working in the vineyard, Jack, the teenage brother of Emily, overheard a conversation between Ryan and a friend from the city. "Ryan, you can't hide forever," the voice on the phone said. "Your family is furious. They want you back to face your responsibilities. You can't just keep living like this." Jack froze, unable to believe what he had just heard. The man he thought of as trustworthy and kind had a completely different identity. That evening, Jack told Emily about what he had overheard. "Emily, Ryan isn't who we think he is. He's rich and running away from his life." Emily was reluctant to believe it. "Jack, don't jump to conclusions. Ryan isn't like those people who rely on money to solve everything. He genuinely cares about this place." But doubt began to creep into Emily's mind. She started noticing things she hadn't paid attention to before. Ryan's ease with financial concepts and his unusually refined skills that most ordinary people wouldn't have. Determined to confront him, Emily waited for the right moment. One evening, as they sat on the porch overlooking the vineyard, she decided to ask directly, "Ryan, who are you really? I don't want to hear any more lies." Ryan knew he couldn't hide the truth any longer. Taking a deep breath, he looked into her eyes and confessed, "Emily, I lied to you. I'm not an unemployed engineer. My real name is Ryan Harrington, and I'm the heir to Harrington Technologies. I came here to escape my life of luxury and to avoid an arranged marriage my family was forcing on me." Emily sat in stunned silence, his words piercing through her trust. "You've been lying to me from the very beginning," she said, her voice trembling with anger and hurt. Ryan tried to explain. "I didn't tell you because I wanted to live a life that felt real, free from my family's expectations and the weight of their judgment. I wanted to be just Ryan, not a Harrington." Emily stood up, her eyes filled with pain. "And you thought lying was the way to find honesty? I trusted you, Ryan. You said you wanted to help me, but all this time, you've just been running from your own life, using this vineyard as your hideout. What else are you hiding from me?" Ryan's heart sank as he saw the tears in her eyes. "Emily, everything I've done here, everything I've said, has been because I care about you. I never wanted to hurt you." But Emily couldn't forgive him so easily. "Ryan, I don't need someone to come here with secrets and lies. How can I believe anything you've said? How can I trust you? Leave the vineyard, Ryan. I don't want to see you here again." Ryan looked at her one last time, his eyes filled with sorrow and regret, knowing there was nothing he could say to change her mind. He walked away carrying a heavy heart and an overwhelming sense of guilt. Ryan left Golden Vine with a deep sense of guilt and regret, heading back to the world he once desperately wanted to escape, the glitz and chaos of Los Angeles. The city's towering skyscrapers and relentless pace felt suffocating compared to the peaceful vineyards of Napa Valley. Yet he knew there were battles waiting for him. On the evening of his return, Ryan walked into the family mansion, his steps echoing through the marble halls. In the grand living room, Charles and Evelyn Harrington were waiting, their expressions a mix of judgment and frustration. Charles stood up as Ryan entered, his tone sharp. "Finally, you decided to come home. We need to talk about your wedding to Charlotte. Her family has been waiting for your decision." Ryan stood firm, his gaze unwavering. "No, Father, I'm not marrying Charlotte. I refuse to let my life become another one of your business transactions." Evelyn stepped in, her voice softer but still tinged with manipulation. "Ryan, you must understand. This isn't just about the family. It's about securing the future of Harrington Technologies. If you refuse, you'll lose everything." Ryan gave a bitter laugh. "If the future of the company depends on a loveless marriage, then I'd rather walk away. I don't need your money or your inheritance. I want to live my life on my terms, free from these suffocating expectations." Charles slammed his hand on the table, his face red with anger. "Do you even realize what you're saying? You're throwing away everything we built for you." Ryan met his father's glare, his voice steady. "I know exactly what I'm doing. If I continue on this path, I'll just be another pawn in your power games. I've met someone who's shown me what it means to live authentically. I can't go back to the way things were." Evelyn's expression softened slightly. "Do you love her, Ryan?" "Yes," Ryan admitted, his voice quieter now. "She's unlike anyone I've ever met. But I've hurt her, and I'll never forgive myself if I don't make things right." Charles's face hardened. "If you walk out that door, you're no longer my son." Ryan took a deep breath, his heart heavy but resolute. "Then so be it. I'll prove I can build my own life without your help." Without looking back, Ryan left the opulent mansion, carrying nothing but his determination to make amends and start anew. Back at Golden Vine, Emily faced her own struggles. One day she received a letter from a prominent real estate company, Westfield Developments, expressing interest in purchasing the vineyard. The offer came with an astronomical sum, enough to pay off all the farm's debts, secure Jack's future, and provide Emily with a fresh start. However, selling the vineyard would mean giving up the last piece of her family's legacy. Emily sat in the living room, staring at the letter, her mind racing. Jack entered, noticing her deep in thought. "What's wrong, Emily?" he asked, sitting beside her. She handed him the letter, her voice tinged with uncertainty. "They want to buy the vineyard, Jack. This money could clear our debts, send you to college, and give us a fresh start." Jack frowned. "But if we sell the vineyard, there'll be nothing left of our family. This is the only place that keeps Mom and Dad's memory alive." Emily nodded, her heart torn. She knew Jack was right. but the weight of the debts was a constant, unrelenting burden. That evening, Emily sat alone on the porch, gazing at the moonlit rows of grapevines. Memories of her parents flooded her mind, how her father had once dreamed of making Golden Vine one of Napa Valley's top vineyards. She also thought of Ryan. Despite his lies, his presence had brought a glimmer of hope and support during her darkest days. She missed him, even though the hurt he caused lingered. The next day, Emily invited her lawyer to discuss Westfield's offer. "I need more time to decide," she said, her voice steady but uncertain. "I can't make this decision lightly." But time was running out. Creditors were becoming impatient, and Emily knew she couldn't delay forever. As the deadline for responding to Westfield's offer approached, Emily found herself at a crossroads. Hold on to the vineyard and risk losing everything, or sell it and secure financial stability for herself and Jack. She created a list of pros and cons for both options, but no choice felt right. The vineyard was more than just land. It was her family's legacy, their dreams, and their memories. Selling it would mean giving up the one thing her parents had left her. Late one evening, Jack entered her room holding a piece of paper. "Emily, look at this. I found it in Dad's office. It's a draft of his plans for expanding Golden Vine and turning it into a renowned wine brand." Emily took the paper, her eyes welling with tears as she read her father's handwriting. She realized that Golden Vine was more than just a vineyard. It was her father's dream, a symbol of her family's perseverance and identity. But she also knew that keeping the dream alive required resources she didn't have. She couldn't do it alone. And deep down, she wished Ryan was there, not just to help, but to share in the journey of rebuilding what her family had started. After days of deep reflection, Ryan realized he couldn't lose Emily. He knew he had made a mistake by hiding his true identity, but his love for her was genuine. With a firm resolve to make things right, he returned to Golden Vine, carrying not only his apologies but also a concrete plan to save the vineyard. As Ryan pulled up to the vineyard, the golden hues of the late afternoon sun bathed the rows of grapevines. He spotted Emily tending to the vines, her silhouette strong, yet graceful under the light. She turned as she heard the sound of his footsteps, her eyes briefly betraying surprise before they hardened into a guarded expression. "Ryan, what are you doing here?" Emily's tone was calm but cautious, her arms crossed as if bracing herself for disappointment. Ryan approached slowly, his gaze earnest. "Emily, I came back for you. I know I was wrong to hide the truth about who I am, but you need to know that I never meant to deceive you. I love you, and I want to prove it, not with words but with actions." Emily's eyes narrowed as she studied him. "You love me? Then why didn't you trust me enough to be honest from the start? Did you think I couldn't handle the truth?" Ryan sighed, his voice heavy with emotion. "I was scared. I thought that if you knew who I was, you'd see me as someone I'm not. Someone defined by wealth and status. I wanted you to love me for who I really am, not for my name or my money." Emily stayed silent, torn between the lingering hurt from his betrayal and the undeniable pull of her feelings for him. Ryan pressed on, his tone pleading. "I didn't just come to apologize. I came to help. I know how much Golden Vine means to you and Jack. If you'll let me, I want to help you rebuild this place. Together." Emily hesitated, her heart wavering. She could sense the sincerity in Ryan's voice, and deep down she knew she needed help. But trust was fragile, and Ryan had broken it once. "Fine," she said at last, her voice softening but still firm. "I'll give you a chance. But let me be clear. If you hurt me again, there won't be a second chance." Ryan wasted no time diving into the work. Drawing on his business acumen, he analyzed the vineyard's finances and operations, identifying ways to improve profitability and sustainability. After extensive research, he proposed a bold idea: transform Golden Vine into a boutique winery and a destination for wine tourism, combining handcrafted wines with immersive guest experiences. Emily, though initially skeptical, found herself inspired by Ryan's vision. Together, they reimagined the vineyard, converting an old barn into a tasting room and designing vineyard tours that allowed visitors to learn about winemaking firsthand. Ryan also suggested hosting events at Golden Vine, such as starlit dinners, cooking classes with wine pairings, and workshops on grape cultivation. These ideas promised not only to generate income, but also to put the vineyard on the map as a unique destination. Jack, who had been wary of Ryan, gradually warmed to him. Seeing Ryan's dedication and genuine efforts to help the vineyard flourish, Jack began participating actively in the plans, learning about management and marketing under Ryan's guidance. As they worked side by side, Ryan and Emily slowly repaired their relationship. Evenings spent discussing plans for the vineyard often gave way to more personal conversations. Ryan would share stories of his childhood, his struggles with the pressures of his family, and his dreams of living a simpler, more meaningful life. Emily, in turn, opened up about her fears and hopes for the future and the sacrifices she had made for Jack and the vineyard. One day, Ryan organized a small event at Golden Vine, inviting a handful of tourists and potential investors. The evening was a resounding success. Guests praised the quality of the wine and the charm of the vineyard. Emily, overwhelmed by the positive feedback, couldn't help but feel a spark of hope. For the first time in years, she began to believe that her dream of revitalizing Golden Vine might actually come true. A few nights later, after a long day of work, Ryan invited Emily for a walk through the vineyard. The moonlight cast a soft glow over the rows of vines, creating a serene and almost magical atmosphere. "Emily," Ryan began, his voice gentle but filled with emotion, "from the day I met you, you've changed everything about how I see the world. You've shown me that simplicity, authenticity, and love mean more than any amount of money or success. I can't imagine my life without you." Emily stopped walking, turning to face him. Her heart raced as she looked into his eyes, sensing the depth of his feelings. Ryan took a deep breath and knelt down, pulling a small box from his pocket. Inside was a simple silver ring adorned with a small, sparkling stone. It was understated yet elegant, just like Emily. "I know life won't always be easy," Ryan said, his voice trembling slightly. "But I promise to stand by you through every challenge. Emily Carter, will you marry me?" Tears welled up in Emily's eyes as she struggled to find her voice. She saw in Ryan's eyes the sincerity and devotion she had longed for. "Ryan," she whispered, her voice quivering, "I love you too, and I want to build a life with you. Here, at Golden Vine." Ryan slipped the ring onto her finger and stood, pulling her into a tight embrace. Under the moonlit sky, they held each other, knowing they had found something rare and precious, a love forged through trials and strengthened by trust. Together, they were ready to begin a new chapter in their lives. The day that marked a new chapter in Ryan and Emily's lives finally arrived. Their wedding took place right at Golden Vine, where everyone felt like family. The lush, green vineyard served as a perfect backdrop, adorned with twinkling string lights and wildflowers, carefully handpicked by Emily herself. Friends, neighbors, and everyone who had helped Golden Vine during its most challenging times were in attendance. Jack, dressed sharply in a classic suit, proudly stood beside his sister as her best man. He was the first to take Emily's hand as she stepped onto the aisle, which was strewn with petals, his radiant smile a testament to the family's silent approval. At the end of the aisle, Ryan stood in a simple yet elegant suit, his eyes glistening with emotion as he saw Emily. She wore a pristine white wedding gown, simple in design yet exuding timeless elegance, just like her. Their vows were heartfelt, not mere promises, but reflections of the journey they had taken together. Ryan spoke first, his voice steady but filled with emotion. "Emily, you've shown me that love doesn't need to be flashy or grand. It only needs to be sincere. I promise to stand by you, protect you, and build a meaningful life with you." Emily, her voice trembling with emotion, replied, "Ryan, you've given me hope that no matter how hard life gets, love and determination can see us through. I promise to be your partner in every joy and every challenge." When they exchanged rings and received blessings from everyone present, the atmosphere was filled with pure happiness. Laughter, hugs, and even tears of joy made the ceremony an unforgettable memory. After the wedding, Ryan and Emily officially embarked on their plans to expand Golden Vine. The dreams they had nurtured were finally beginning to take shape. They invested in building a small winery on the estate, allowing visitors to witness the handcrafted winemaking process from vine to bottle. A tasting room was designed with an open layout, giving guests the chance to enjoy wine while taking in the picturesque views of the rolling vineyards. Ryan, with his exceptional business skills, took charge of branding Golden Vine. Together with Emily, he crafted a unique story for each line of wine, weaving in the vineyard's struggles, triumphs, and their love story. The Golden Vine label quickly gained attention, not only from tourists, but also from renowned wine critics. Emily, driven by her artistic passion, designed the wine labels herself and organized art events at the vineyard. She converted an old barn into a gallery where local artists could display their work. These exhibitions not only enriched the cultural appeal of Golden Vine, but also drew more visitors to the estate. Jack, having learned a great deal about management, took on the day-to-day operations of the vineyard. He became an indispensable part of the team, ensuring that Golden Vine ran smoothly and fostering a family-like environment for everyone working there. One evening, as the day's work wrapped up, Ryan and Emily stood hand in hand among the rows of vines, watching the sun dip below the horizon. The gentle breeze carried the scent of earth and life, a reminder of everything they had built together. "Can you believe how much Golden Vine has changed in such a short time?" Ryan asked, his voice filled with wonder as he gazed at the newly constructed winery. Emily smiled, leaning her head on his shoulder. "It's not just the vineyard that's changed, Ryan. It's become a part of us. This place gave me peace, and it's where we found each other." Ryan squeezed her hand tightly, his heart brimming with gratitude. "Thank you, Emily, for everything. I can't imagine what my life would be like without you." Emily looked up at him, her eyes soft and full of love. "We did this together, Ryan. This isn't just my dream anymore. It's ours. And you know what? I think we're only just getting started." Their story closes with the image of Ryan and Emily standing in the vineyard, bathed in golden sunlight, a symbol of love, hope, and new beginnings. Golden Vine was no longer just a vineyard. It had become the birthplace of a meaningful journey, a place where love and effort had created a family, a legacy, and a future brimming with promise. Thank you for following our story. Did this story touch your heart? Leave a comment below. If you enjoyed the story, don't forget to like,